All right, so we're recording. Natalie, thank you again for being a participant in my study. Really quickly before we begin, let me give you like an overview of the goal of the study, kind of what we're doing today. Um, so I'm doing a little project, trying to research the link between money and happiness. So I'm gonna ask you some pretty general questions about happiness, about money, and then based upon your answers, I'm going to ask you some follow-up questions. Um, there's no right or wrong answer. So it's really just how you feel, okay? Okay. So really quickly, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Um, Hi, my name is Natalie. I'm 20 years old and I go to UF.
Okay, awesome. So Natalie, really first question. What does happiness mean to you?
Um, Happiness is like an emotion of joy and like it like means like you're like fulfilled with what you're doing. So like to me, happiness is like fulfillment in like your goals because that's often what makes people happy. Yeah, that's all.
All right. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your happiness today, this past week, and then this year so far? So three scores.
Um, Today, a 6.
Okay.
This past week, a 7. This past year, also a 7.
Okay. So pretty consistent scores all around. Is happiness something that you've struggled with in the past? And is it something that you continue to struggle with?
Um, yes.
Could you elaborate a little bit on that,
Oh
please?
yeah, sorry. Yeah. Um, yeah, I find it difficult to be happy sometimes. Like happiness in itself is hard to define and it means like a lot of things. So like I don't know if like my happiness isn't your happiness or isn't someone else's happiness. So obviously it's different, but I think it's difficult to achieve, at least for me. Maybe I just define it difficult in a difficult way.
Okay. So what are some of the things that you see, in retrospect that make you the happiest?
Um, my friends, my boyfriend, um, good company and rest time, like not always being stressed.
Okay. So you said you have friends, good company. Um, Something that's been stressed by the previous two participants, is the relationship with their family. Um, could you elaborate a little bit, on the relationship you have with your family, um, and how that contributes to your happiness, or how your relationship with your family has hindered, happiness in the past?
Yeah, I wouldn't really say that my relationship with my family is connected to happiness. I would rather put like my relationship of like my boyfriend or my friends on top of that. I mean, I'm close with my sister, so I guess, but I don't really consider my sister like family. When I think of family, I think of like parents and like grandparents and stuff. My sister's more of like a friend also. But
Okay.
like obviously she's my sister, so she's family. But I'd probably say that in the past family has hindered my happiness. So I don't really put it as one of like the defining characteristics of like what it means to be happy in my opinion.
So you're saying that the relationship with your family doesn't necessarily make you, or doesn't affect you, doesn't contribute to your overall happiness. It's not something that you factor.
Yeah. And if it does, yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So, um, I know that you have a strained relationship with your mom, and that growing up there was a difficult situation between your mom and your mother and your father. Could you elaborate a little bit on how um being a child of divorce has impacted your happiness in the past?
Yeah. Um, it was definitely like hard. My parents' divorce was like super messy, so it was like a lot of like fighting and like it wasn't really like a clean divorce. So I definitely think that contributed to me like not feeling happy during my childhood. I would say I wasn't really a happy child. I didn't really have a happy childhood. Obviously it's better than them staying together because yeah, it was better than them staying together because they would just fight all the time either way. But it was definitely difficult. Like I was in and out of the court system and stuff. So yeah, definitely negatively contributed to my happiness.
And was there a sense of relief and a sense of happiness when the divorce was finalized and you were able to focus more on the relationships with your family that made you happy, like with your father, and now with your stepmother and step siblings?
Um, Not necessarily when the divorce ended, because it didn't end until I was like 18 when I could choose. Because I mean, the divorce itself ended, but like the effect that it had on me didn't end until I was 18. So yeah, when I was 18, definitely I felt happier, sense of relief of like shifting my family towards like blood versus who my actual family is now, which is like my dad and like my step siblings and my stepmom and obviously my sister.
Okay. Um, Now kind of pivoting to, the role money plays. Super broad question, but how much of an impact do you think money can play on happiness?
I think it plays a big impact on happiness. Like I said, like happiness a lot of times comes from attaining your goals. And in my opinion, it's very difficult to attain your goals. I mean, depending on what they are, but overall, generally, it's hard to get where you want without money. And like I feel like that struggle makes people less happy. Like that struggle to like meet minimum wage or like meet your basic needs, it contributes to like contributes negatively to happiness.
So you said, um, that money helps you achieve kind of like this baseline of like basic needs as to where you aren't really worried about, um, what you're gonna wear, what you're gonna eat, where you're gonna sleep. Would you say money has an impact above that, above meeting basic necessities?
Yeah, of course, it's like you can have basic needs, but if you grow up with in like a wealthy environment, or if like your parents are wealthy and they have connections, it's gonna be easier for you to also get those connections and also like succeed in life. Like it's just gonna be easier, and that feasibility like contributes to happiness. Like if it's harder for other people, obviously I feel like you're gonna like feel more rewarded in the end because like you did it, but it's still gonna be harder to achieve, making it like making you stressed and like therefore less happy.
Okay. Um, so I know you want to be a lawyer. That's the career path that you've chosen. How much would you say that your decision towards being a lawyer, how much of that decision is based on personal fulfillment, compared to, the potential, financial reward that comes from being a lawyer?
Um, well, obviously, like the financial reward is definitely a factor. Like I want to be successful. I want to, like have a family and contribute to my like provide for my family where we don't have to worry about anything. But like I definitely say like if it was like in terms of percentages, I'll give it like a 60-40, like 60% personal fulfillment. I want to do it for me. I want to see myself become a lawyer. I want to like go through law school and like actually do it versus like 40% ish. So like kind of half, but more towards fulfillment in my opinion. That's how I decided.
Okay, and so, mm, one of my past participants mentioned how, um, you're always in this pursuit of evolving yourself. You know, he used an analogy of, a couple years ago, I wasn't buying the best food because, I didn't have the money to buy the best food. Now that my financial situation has improved, you know, the quality of what I'm able to buy with that money increases, but at a certain time, I'm back to that baseline emotion. So do you think that money can harm long-term fulfillment if it's focused on the wrong things?
Um, I think to an extent, yeah, it depends on how strictly you focus on the wrong things. Like obviously like we're human, like we're selfish, like we're gonna have that like thing in the background where it's like, yeah, like I want to be rich, I want to whatever. But, like if that's all you're focused on, then yeah, like you're gonna lose like what like the rest of like life. Like you're gonna lose like the friends that bring you happiness, your family, and like all you're gonna be left with is money bringing you happiness, which isn't sufficient in my opinion.
Okay, so final question here, and this is a question I've asked the previous two participants, and it's more of a lighthearted question. So if I'm gonna come to you today, Natalie, and I'm gonna give you, and I'm gonna write you a check, and that check is to represent the money that you think you will need for the rest of your life to be happy. What's the amount, like how big is that check gonna be?
So this is for the rest of my life, but I'll still get the money from like working that I'll earn.
Yes.
Like this is okay. So like it's not like you're giving me money and I'm not gonna work.
I mean, it could mean that as well. It's up to you how you define this money that I'm giving you.
I'd honestly say, I mean, I'm not really sure how much law school in total is gonna cost, but I'd probably say the amount that that's gonna cost plus a little wiggle room in case like I don't do well as a lawyer. I'd probably because then you're not stressing about like paying for it while you're in school. So I'd probably say I don't know, 300K, 200, 300K, 350K.
What's your final answer? 350K, 300K,
Uh 350.
350? Okay, that's
325. 325. 325.
325. Okay, that's interesting because, you know, the previous participants have all given me amounts, in the tens of millions range. So
That's
it's
too much.
interesting. Um, your response is very interesting to me. Um, yeah, so final thoughts on the questions that I've asked. How do you think um that cultivating a family um will impact your happiness?
I think it will increase my happiness. But you also have to consider the fact that you do need money to have a family. Like you
Right.
do need like a stable financial thing. So money is obviously going to always be a component, but I'd rather have a healthy family. I mean, you need money for that too. Whatever. Yes, it'll increase positively. It'll positively increase. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, Natalie, um, thank you for being a participant. Thank you for your answers. Thank you for how well you thought them out. Um, and yeah, thank you for being a participant.
You're welcome.